Hey, what's going on guys? I'm Mr. Sandman, and today I want to talk about everything wrong with Blitz. And of course I'm talking about the recent beta. Now a while back I did a similar video for the Halo Wars 2 multiplayer beta in June. I think most of my complaints were justified in that particular video, and I'll also mention if things have in fact changed or improved since the last beta. A common complaint in my previous video seemed to draw along the lines of the problem being related to the fact that it was a beta and not a final build. Sure, in some of the cases this was right, however, I just wanted to merely point out any issue I saw. Regardless, I will refrain from adding beta related issues, and if I do, I will clearly state if it's an issue with the beta. But if you think about it, we should have essentially seen the final build. How much more could they change? I don't hate Blitz, I just want to illustrate what's wrong in this beta. So starting off, I would like to talk about the controls. There is significant improvement over the original beta, but they're still worse than Halo Wars. Well, what do I mean? For starters, it's not very easy to select individual units as the stickiness doesn't properly latch onto a unit. This remains an issue even if you turn on the stickiness option. Furthermore, if you have a selection of units, it is so very tedious to select one unit and move it around. Say for instance, you select all units and then press right trigger a few times to find the unit you want. This will be hindered with a sort of lag, but also the fact that the unit may not even follow the orders on some occasions. Sometimes a completely different unit will follow that order instead. It's very bizarre. I have a feeling that this could be due in part to holding down the LB to move around the map faster while flipping through the different units. The game will also make a spammy noise as if you're rapidly pressing the right trigger. Following on from that, I really want them to let us customize or at least give us the option to use a controller scheme that is the same or at least similar to the original Halo Wars. That one felt more natural to use, whereas the Halo Wars 2 version feels kind of awkward. I mean, I get it if you can't change it for Blitz because of the cards, but at least for the core game. To me, this game feels familiar. Why do I say that? Well, think about it. The map, Proving Grounds, has 3 lanes. I'm obviously assuming that other maps for Blitz will be similar to this layout. Both teams have a healing station as their starting location. It also has 3 areas where players contest to take control. So does this remind you of anything? Well, if you've ever played a MOBA, then it should. This covers games like Smite, League of Legends, and Dota. It also has a COD vibe to it, with the capture points being similar to the domination game mode. Now I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad thing, I'm merely pointing out that there's nothing original about this concept. This is more of a small request. I just want to see the flare become more noticeable. I'd also like to see where my allies are seeing, like we had in the original Halo Wars. I miss the ability to press back on the controller to see who was in the game, what their ranks were, and who has the most points. Why that's not in this game is beyond me. It's such a simple thing, but it definitely should be in this game. Now I know that you can press a start button and see who's on which team, but that's really not enough. One of the great things, and what is normally a staple in any RTS that you've ever played, is AI attached to your unit. When it's being attacked, it will attack back. When it's in the way, it'll move out of the way, etc. But this game seems to struggle with this. For instance, units will sometimes not attack an enemy right next to them, and you'll have to manually command them to do so. Or you send a unit next to a supply silo, and it will not attack it, and pick up the supplies. Yet again you have to manually make it attack, and then afterwards make it collect the supplies. On a side note, there has been an improvement in AI since the last beta, with units now moving out of the way for another unit to get to the destination. This is something the original Halo Wars didn't have, so that's a real improvement. I don't seem to notice any effect of the secondary abilities on the battlefield. They seem all but invisible and pointless. They removed the canister shell ability from tanks, like why would you do that? In the original Halo Wars, that ability had such an effect on the outcome of a battle, but now it's just press X and hope you win. It removes all the micro and skill out of the game. Also, I wish they bring back the air damage of the jump jet routes. I have always found it frustrating to play unarranged games in Halo Wars, and perhaps that's where some of the challenge can come when you're forced to carry a disadvantaged team. But in this game mode at least, it is almost impossible to carry your team if they don't know how to play. No more 1v3ing with Gauss. but I just think that bad teammates is more punishing in this game mode if you compare it to Halo Wars. Firstly, you're going to have to 1v3 teams if your team refuses to push upon objectives. Secondly, they will likely have an extra 60 population over you if you attempt to take their armies head on alone. There is no flanking to take out their bases. The map we got for this is too small for any real flank. Finally, rank. Now rank generally meant very little when it came to skill in Halo Wars, but now it has some real world significance in the form of an unfair advantage. What do I mean? Well, if you didn't know, the higher you rank up, the more packs you attain. The more packs you attain, eventually all of your cards will be of a higher level and will have more health and damage output. This gives you a significant advantage. Now this issue will be compounded upon the official launch when microtransactions are introduced and you can buy your way up the leaderboards or Blitz. That's got to be the main issue keeping people away from playing this at launch. Clash Royale has the same issue. I'm still not a huge fan of camo in the Halo Wars universe. I just find it ridiculous that you have to have a certain unit to find another unit, and that cloaked unit can keep wailing you the whole entire time. You also have to fucking touch the cloaked unit to detect them, which is stupid. The detection range should be much larger. The one good change that has happened since the previous beta is that I believe more units are now able to detect cloaked units. Now this may only be in Blitz, but regardless it's a good change. Now let me pitch you a scenario. Say you suddenly see some cloaked units. You freak out because you can't even kill them. So then you have to waste time cycling through cards to find the one unit that detects cloaked units, while you burn some good cards. Is that something you want? How about another scenario, which is in the core game? Say you build an army and you're patrolling the map when you see some cloaked units. You haven't got a building that produces detection units, so you have to flee from these cloaked units, or you have to build something just to find them. Now these are just hypothetical situations, but I think that they should be taken seriously. The production of supplies in this game seems to be painfully slow. If you don't pick up any of the dropped supplies, you're put at a huge disadvantage. That being said, I don't see an effect when the multiplier is activated. It seems inconsequential. However, the initial boost in supplies is significant. So essentially, I think the base supply rate should be increased. It's especially pertinent at the beginning of the game. Speaking about resources, I think the initial drop of supplies should be instantaneous so that you know exactly where to send your units right out of the gate. Following on from the previous point, I think that there is too much benefit to collecting the supplies. Why? Well, it's not so much the supply boost you get, but the fact that the spawn locations are completely random. Say for instance that you're cordoned off to one half of the map, as the enemy has control of the other half, and all three suppliers spawn randomly on their side. That doesn't seem right to me. Thus, I propose that it still remain random with spawning, but that equal numbers spawn on both sides of the map. Now, I want to move on to the artillery in this game. There are three main artillery units: the Locust, the Kodiak, and the Blisterback. Strictly speaking, the Locust isn't actually an artillery unit, but it certainly has an outrageous range. I think that they should be nerfed somehow. Perhaps a reduced range, less damage output, plus that Locust that steals life points. Holy shit, that thing is OP. Anything to prevent this cheesy turtle setup. What the fuck? To further compound this issue, there is the biggest cancer spot on this map that I call Ridiculous Ridge. It is made worse by the fact that you're able to both protect B and C simultaneously with little to no effort. It is almost impossible to stop with a normal army. I mean, just look at this footage I'm showing you on screen right now. Possibly the only thing that can partially stop it is the eradication beam. Even then, the ridge is so large that not everything would die, and oftentimes I dodge the eradication beam. So if you don't have the eradication beam, you're kinda fucked. A Scarab will get melted. A Condor will get melted. I just think that this whole setup should be nerfed in some way. This is coming from a person who uses it, so don't say it's because it happens to me. I can see just how cheap this strategy is. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see if this type of ridiculous ridge is a thing on the other Blitz maps. We'll find out. I think that the Scarab looks and feels amazing. Like, their scale and destructibility is incredible. They really do feel much scarier than they did in the original Halo Wars. However, I think that these ultimate cards are slightly too overpowered. The fact that it can come in and kill all of your shit seems a bit cheese to me. So what I suggest is that you keep the damage output exactly the same, but you reduce the Scarab's health, so that my armies are actually able to kill it and I don't have to run away each time. I mean, unless you've got control of Ridiculous Ridge with all of your locusts, then you're fine, and you can fucking kill any Scarab that challenges you. Like, come on, seriously, do we really need 15 whole seconds to stare at our starting army? Like, come on. The load times for this game, at least on the X-Bone, are fucking ridiculous. Like, holy hell. In my personal opinion, this game mode gives me more of a spam all the units and see if it kills all of his units kind of thing than the new strategic measure that they talked about. Actually, it really reminds me of those types of people in Halo Wars who just build every type of unit in the game and roll across the map with that army. This may have been a very conscious design choice, but I don't like that there isn't any fog of war. It removes any of the scouting and guesstimating that RTSs are known for. Now, I know that this is Blitz and it's different to normal RTS, however, I still think that my point is valid. When I select a card from the deck, I may not instantly want to place it when I made my card choice. This has resulted in many misplaced cards being put right into the battle. Thus, I would like for this to be changed to the ODST card method, where you select the ODST, then place them where you want. It's not that hard. It's certainly a much better method. Well, at least give us the option to make this happen. So if you're still here, then I want to thank you for watching. Games are not created perfect, and I'm just trying to make it better. Of course, if you think I missed something, then please leave it in the comments below and I'll add it to the description. If you enjoyed the video, then please rate it and also consider subscribing for more Halo Wars content and news. Cheers, guys.
Gained the lead. Is there a mechanic about?
I understand.
I need urgent repairs, sir.
Sure.
I'm out of here.
Maybe.
Rolling out.
It's like a fucking
Making
generator.
tracks. I'm there, sir.
Local units.
Oh shit, guys, look at that base.
I'm in need of repairs.
Their base.
I'm under attack from enemy vehicles. Over.
You're so dying.